Good afternoon, and welcome to the All You Serve Multi-Tier and Lakeside sponsored webinar. We're going to give another minute or so and then get started with our program today. Food service, micro trends, and solutions. Give us another minute. We're letting everyone get on. But welcome this afternoon to our webinar. The ones that are in Hawaii, good morning to you that are on today. All right. Great. So welcome to our webinar, Food Service Micro Trends and Solutions. Thank you, All You Serve Multi-Tier and Lakeside for sponsoring it. And really grateful that I can be able to speak. With those who don't know me, my name is Marsha Diamond. I'm the food service consultant, and I work in the market of sales marketing, helping companies and manufacturers understand the industries today. And I'm also very honored to have Nancy Lane, who's been in the industry a long time and is a senior designer and visual merchandising and product concept manager and working for Lakeside. So thank you, Nancy. So
thank you,
today
Marsha.
we're going to be talking, you're welcome. Today we're going to talk about trends. And trends is this time of year is usually a really good time to talk about forecast trends in all the market segments. And to follow a trend, you must be aware of the current situation and be able to predict the changes in the near future to see how it's adaptable. You know, in our industry, we don't even have time to get used to new ideas and equipment and technology as they become outdated and are replaced by newer ones. So it's very important to at least be aware and monitor to take full advantage in your operations today, to look at the sales, to look at the ability to generate customer loyalty and satisfaction, and to maximize efficiency. So we thought, being the beginning of 2019, that this was a good time to talk about micro trends and solutions. What we hope you walk away with today is an understanding of some of the food and food service trends, the ability to adapt some of these solutions in your retail food service venue. And we want you to be able to take some of those solutions and make a retail roadmap for you. Remember, we're going to talk about the trends. We're going to talk about some solutions that are very executable, but you have to know your audience and know your labor and your tools to develop the right roadmap for you. Now remember, a roadmap doesn't mean A to Z. It means you may start A to B to C to D, make a left-hand turn, and so it's okay. A roadmap's just that. The end is success, and that will mean different things for different people on this call today. So let's start with our first trend, beyond eating.
Okay, Marsha, I'm going to talk a little bit about trend number one. In today's customers, they relate to food in a deeper and more meaningful way than previous generations. They crave the new and exciting and the bold. These experiences include ethnic menu items and non-traditional ingredients, and deeper knowledge and personal connection to food. Much like the movie theaters and diners and shopping malls of previous generations, seeking out new food experiences has become a primary driver of the social interaction. And I know, Marsha, we kind of talked a little bit about some of the different pictures that we have at the bottom of the slide, and I thought it was very interesting on the burger with the ramen noodles to make that into a bun.
Yeah, the bottom, what has happened today is people want a holder of some type, and so it doesn't have to be always some kind of bread format. So it can be the ramen noodles, it can be gluten-free noodles, combining with the burger. The idea is using your sensory experience, everything from the visual to taste to texture. So the sound, crunchiness, the ramen noodles, the way they are, the crunchiness. But if you look at some of the pictures or solutions on the bottom, the one on the left can be a baked pizza. It can also be considered just a baked bowl with some salad. And again, the use of flowers for color and taste and texture is starting to be used more and more. The center picture with the girasol, it's more of a Mexican. They could have said Mexican food, but it kind of blends in the Brazilian and the Mexican and the blend of it. And that's called a food hall in a university. And it's kind of can be used in a lobby of a hotel, or in a site that's more not typical, not traditional, because food halls can be modified and enabled to fit into that footprint and have more kind of color and interest into that. If you look at the picture completely on the right, it's salad with a grain, with some bread, and some fresh fruit. But what makes it really, besides the taste, because this was in a hospital settings and food is good, but what makes it really interesting is it's in a bento box. So using different types of boxes that you traditionally wouldn't use. Bento obviously is used in typical sushi and maybe some Asian cuisine, but using it in this format, number one, it's much more enticing. They also use it for the toddler or the children's floor. When things are compartmentalized, it's much easily enabled for them to eat as well as to identify. Elderly, think about it for a senior dining experience. Those are kind of components. Try to think outside in containers using food. Again, sensory, non-traditional locations, lobbies, and menu innovations, just different ways of doing it. Think beyond just the burger.
You know, 2018 is really the end of the food industry as we know it. So it's making some big changes for 19. Each generation brings a different twist to food and flavors. The baby boomers like to dine in traditional restaurants that sell comfort food. Gen X spends most of its money out at night. The millennials tend to dine for the experience rather than the food, and Gen Z is going to be the digital generation. They love to order online and digital marketing. So this 2019 should be very interesting for the food industry. This is dining in the sky. So Marcia, I made a reservation for us, and we'll dine in the sky one day. This is Dinner in the Sky. It's a Belgium-based novelty restaurant, and they hoist you up 150 feet up in the sky with your wait staff and chefs. And Forbes claimed that this is the world's top 10 most unusual restaurants. So it's just talking about that dining experience and how it's changing in the sense of curiosity.
So to add to this, obviously in your facility today to execute this probably is not possible, but you don't have to be that many 150 feet off into the air, but maybe something in the sense of transparency. You have a chef up there, wait service, maybe having something centered in your dining hall, in your alternate location, and having an experience around it, encompassing the same kind of look. And maybe the background is a panoramic of your city or your of a serene location. And maybe using, visuals combined with food and color, it wouldn't be in the air, but getting the experience of that. So what a unique experience. You're having, I would say, about 22 people at a community kind of table with an execution of display cooking and that. So again, see that and say, how can I apply that? How is that going to affect or make change in my facility? When I think about facilities in general, color, walls, ambiance, design, when you're thinking about that, think about what you want that environment to be. If it's a healing in a hospital, maybe it's in a forest, and maybe around a table of greenery, and then the chairs are more wood-based. Having that experience, or doing something a little bit different, make people, number one, want to try it. Number two, it enhances or it combines all the senses. And remember, when you go to eat today, Instagram, people are just taking out their cameras. It's all about the visual. Obviously, the next is taste, but when you see it, you eat with your eyes. So what a great idea is to look what's going out there and see how you can adapt it to this trend. So one of the next trends is sustainability. And I'm sure a lot of you shaking your head, oh, I've heard this. It's here to stay. It's just here to stay. So how do you be, when I think of sustainability, I think about activism. I think about certifications with food. I think about how do I reduce energy, whether it's human energy, ergonomics, whether it's looking at ventless or it's looking at water reduction or maybe having a sink in an area that it's not typically in so that it makes less walking steps, whether it's recycling, all of those components I think about. It is our responsibility. And so we have to figure out a way to do it and to do it more practical. You know, using equipment to recycle, there are so many places that are doing this, but the big thing is a lot of people don't, you know, when you have the opening, they love those kind of openings. But when you don't have those openings and you have to open it with your hand and garbage and this and that, people, you have to make it easy to do recycling. Composting, people have to understand the process and what you're doing from it. So again, visual explanations, or maybe on your mobile app, explaining why you're doing it and what it does and what it's accomplished. Transparency is a good thing. And make sure you look at multiple use equipment that can allow you to do that easily. But whether it's sustainable takeoutware, whether it's, like I said, ergonomic, composting, remember, it's here to stay. Think of activism. Whether you're working with young, old, everyone wants to be part of that, you know, eco-friendly. So here is some examples of sustainability. You know, doing compost, what you're putting it in, you're having sharing, you're explaining to them, packaging. So these are some ways to, again, encompass that. We just wanted to give you some examples. There are units that'll have the bottle and the waste on it, and those, again, having it open. I can't tell you, again, when I've been in sites that they have the ability to recycle, but you have to open it with your hand. Then I don't know if you're like me, but once I've got to start touching garbage, you know, I know it's the right thing to do, but I don't want to start pushing my hand into a garbage. So make it easy to do it, make it things adaptable, composting, explain what it is. There should be a sign there explaining so people know to do it and why.
Yeah. And that one card up in the top corner, is used for breakfast in the classroom and then, or down the hallway, and then at lunch it's a sharing cart, and then at night it becomes a catering. So it's multifunctional throughout the day. So you're going to see more equipment being used multiple ways in 2019. Plant forward. This one is really deepened its roots throughout 2019. A lot of exotic fruits and veggies from around the world. And, you know, it's interesting, all the flavors that are now changing. And every year you see another vegetable or a fruit that is enhanced. And, you know, jicama is one, and we're going to talk about what's coming up for 2019. But also, too, the vegan options and vegetarian options have really been up in center plate, and the plant proteins are very popular in 2018 and now moving forward in 19.
And I will say here is that if you think of yesterday's recipes with today's flavors, combining that component of it, and that's why you have roasted coriander, roasted cumin. Think about those kind of things, meatloaf added with cilantro. Think about incorporating things. You know, you talk about alternate proteins, you've got, you know, the mushrooms being used to be blended burgers. You're using the Impossible Burger. Looks like a burger, tastes like a burger, isn't a burger. Turkey burgers, alternate proteins. This is really here to stay. It's how creative you can be. If you just have one type of burger on your menu, you're missing an opportunity. And I'll use burgers because it seems like it crosses over all generations. The other thing is when you're looking at being responsible eating habits and you're looking at offering seasonal and implement garden plate, it's as easy as denoting that the red cabbage is, you know, supporting Michigan farmers on the left, that picture. It doesn't mean all your food is supporting everything locally in the sense of short distance. It means that you're relating, you understand that Michigan has red cabbage and we're supporting it. And making people, again, the transparency, shifting people to eat more and varied when it comes to the vegetable protein, the plant-based. How do you bring, now again, flavor. Flexitarians, there's two terms for flexitarians. One is people that eat turkey and chicken and fish but don't eat meat, or the flexitarians, it's been used and denoted in different ways, and eats more plant-based for the rest of their meals. So flexitarian is a term that started about 7 years ago. I started to hear it more main, and is really here. When you say someone's a flexitarian, chances are they are eating a type of alternate protein, they're just not eating beef. So be aware, implement. The big thing is communication. When you have a great product out there, do a demo, do a sampling, do a tasting. It's definitely a trend that's here to stay, and it's just going to get more and more interesting what we see out on the market, both in the consumer and both in your in grocery stores, in C-stores, in your micro markets, and in your facilities. Just to pause a moment. Nancy, just to pause a moment, I wanted to let you know that we're doing an overarching of these many trends. We're not, so we're trying to give you examples. And if you have any questions, please just put them in and type them in. But we will answer the questions at the end. But I just want to let you know that we're taking an overarching view of these trends and some solutions that can really, but if you have a specific question, please feel free. Just want to make sure I mention that. Go ahead, Nancy.
Thank you. Protein bowls, plant-based proteins. Again, this is just another trend for 2019. It was around in 18, and it's just enhanced. Fresh and healthy. That's all the generations are really pushing for that fresh and healthy food. But the interesting one is the bowl on the left with the knife and the fork. That is made with 100% wheat bran. So it's biodegradable and edible. So you're going to see a lot more edible bowls. And then I just saw today where they have like a machine, it looks like a waffle machine, and you can make spoons and silverware that'll be edible, so that when the customer's done, they can eat their plate and their silverware.
So again, think about natural, safe, edible, think about biodegradable, compostable. Those are terms when you're looking at some of this. And then I know I'll hear about the economic. These things have come down in economics than they ever did before. I know when they were first came out, they were probably very high. And so when you're adding it into the price point and your return on your investment, when you're charging and your cost, but at this point they've come down and you've got a lot more in the market. So a lot more, generic brands, a lot more, branded, and you will find and also, I must say, the bigger your campus is, the more purchasing power to do some branding with some of that stuff. So speaking to your suppliers and vendors to choose. And as far as how they taste, bring those vendors in and do a sampling. Bring your audience, your customers, whether they're students, whether they're staff, bring them in, yourself, your people that are making that decision, and that vendor, and do tasting. On any of these products, a lot of people hear this trend and know that it's moving towards it. If you want acceptance, the best thing to do, whether it's disposable or edible plate, food, bring them in. Make sure you bring them in. Equipment also. If you're using multifunctional equipment and you want to see how it's going to work in this area, speak to your vendors about partnering and coming up with some of this stuff. And they may have a unit temporarily that can be used until you decide on what you really want.
This is a lettuce kale. It's a new product out, not new, but, again, they're bringing, like jicama is a great example when you brought it over, and then it's how do I cook with it? How do I use it? What's the taste profile? You're seeing it more out there than ever before. So again, this will be one that you'll see in 2019. But the interesting part was when I was reading about this, it says be very careful on some of the different fruits and vegetables from other countries or that have been, modified or been put together, that you know how to cook with them. Because sometimes you're going to get a product or a veggie it's bitter. And if you saute it, it may be, it's not the way to do it. So do a little bit of research on the recipe and how you should cook the different products.
And I would say with this trend, as far as plant forward and bringing more fruits and vegetables, into the diet. The one thing I would say is these new lettuces will come out, the new lettuce, and that's a great opportunity to experiment and cook with your culinary teams as well as sample, because again, the more, I mean, when I grew up, it basically was carrots, celery, and lettuce. I mean, okay, it wasn't that many years ago, but the idea was we weren't exposed to all these fruits and vegetables and different types of flavor profiles. Well, now more stuff is coming out through cutting and ingenuity of farming. So let's take a look at some of this stuff and how it can enhance, whether it's depending on the sensory, color, taste, and how we can incorporate it. Because the more we tap into a population that enjoys that, the more it ends up enhancing our food service profile. The other thing is I wanted to say is when we look at herbs and fresh herbs, no matter what you think about when you have fresh herbs, the smell, incorporating into food, it's a great, great way to enhance food. And so we're seeing a lot of herbs and greenery around all food facilities because people enjoy the taste and smell of that. So stating that, if you have a micro market, how about selling small things of mint, basil, lavender? Lavender is great in cooking, but the reason why is because if you explain to people what it's to be used for, not only will put it in their office or take it home or use it in their cooking in their apartment for students, is that they're learning. So the idea of just putting it in and telling them about an herb, but maybe explaining it, you're plant forward and you're paying it forward. And so the idea is herbs are around. You see all these Greenwald chefs. You see Carter and Hoffman just came out with a great herb refrigerator. I think thinking about ways you can incorporate and educate and enhance. It is the trend, here to stay. How many of you use fresh herbs? Now, yes, frozen herbs some people have because of where they are, and that's okay too. But if you have the ability to have some fresh herbs around a kitchen or doing some micro-selling, it's a great opportunity to educate as well. And I wanted to speak about farm to fork. It's not necessarily farm to table, it's farm to fork in the sense that if you can visually put something like on the right into your retail establishment, you stimulate taste. Some people have the ability where you have a little small mini grocery cart basket, and you put in cut up food, or you bring over 1 or 2 potatoes, and the chef will then cook it and prepare it for you to either take home or to eat. So that ability of seeing food, the whole thing is to teach people that food comes from the ground. Yes, it does. And a lot of people, if you look at young, they really don't know how food is grown. So the way to educate them and incorporate it, we were all about the farmer, the smell, the taste. And I notice we didn't really say only local. You can taste global and you can taste local. It depends on where you are. But the idea is just to bring in that greenery, that way of merchandising, and to kind of, through this, educate even with recipe cards from that component.
Flavor stations. We've seen this growth in flavor stations taking off in the last couple years, and I think it's even advancing now with the fresh herbs and spices. I was, thinking about this the other day. The spice aisle in a grocery store has doubled in size, at least. So you've got more flavors, more variety than ever before. And I think you're just going to see a more variety coming in 2019. But flavor stations are a way of giving the customer the opportunity to personalize their dish after they're done. Or if they get a burger and they want to top it with some sriracha sauce or a hot sauce. So it's basically just putting it all together in one area. You're seeing more of the fast food restaurants doing that also. You get through the line and you want to go over, you want to flavor your nachos, you want to add some more salsa. They'll give you 20 different varieties of salsa. So you're going to see more action stations, flavor stations in 2019.
So another trend, the fourth trend, is food service operators are always looking to improve productivity. I know many of you who are sitting there who are in operations say, we don't have the workforce. Minimum wages have increased. We generation tailored training. We have to do more mobile training. We can't really do shadowing like we used to. And we always have to increase productivity because it's always been a constant throughout time in food service. So this efficiencies is definitely something that's more evident than ever in 2019. So some of the things you should be looking at is lean principles with the right equipment. Make sure you have the right equipment for what you want to do in a very lean way of doing it. Look at equipment that has multi-uses. For example, it can be convection, microwaving, maybe even sous vide or steaming. Look at equipment that has a multi-use. Yes, it may be a higher price point, but the multi-use aspect of it and the volume of it gives you the ROI in it. Look at things like robotics. Robotics is not replacing humans. What it is a resource. It's offering you a resource so that your people can be re-engineered and put where they need to be. Robotics such as tubs for moving meal delivery. How about a barista robotic that you have somebody taking the order and talking about it, but the robot actually makes the coffee. And then, so again, using labor very, very effectively. Flexibility and convenience and doing that automation. The other thing is about central commissaries or consolidated production. For example, if you have a big campus, why is everyone making the soups and why is everyone making the gravies and bread? Perhaps you can have one central commissary and distribute it out. Consolidated production, such as sous vide types of cooking. Look at ways to be more efficient. And most importantly, I think technology. Whether the technology is via equipment that can give you temperature control, technology that can be just push a button and it's already pre-programmed, accountability with software so that you know what temperatures, so you can always refer back to things when it's safe. Taking a look at equipment and things that offer you the technology component allows you to have more efficiency. And the other thing is making sure you look at where you need to put the human element and that you can use more or less the technology component of it.
This is interesting because Sally the robot is, she makes your salad for you. So if you take a few minutes, you can jump online and check it out. I had the opportunity of having a salad made that was fantastic. You walk up, you punch a couple buttons, and you see the salad being made and put in the dish for you. So that's robotics, but you're also mixing this up with one person behind the counter. So this pop-up concept allows you to just have maybe one person running it compared to two, because you're incorporating the robot. And then also down the picture below where there's a hand sink, I think you're going to see more of that in 2019 in designs. More hand sinks are put into counters or serveries. That gives the customer the opportunity to use it, or the staff. This was the doctor's lounge in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. So I thought it was very interesting that they incorporated that hand sink into their serving line. Smaller equipment, you're going to see the equipment shrinking and smaller with your smaller footprint. And then also using the equipment where you've got this one over here to the left. The handle helps you to push or pull. They're going to be more efficient with equipment so that you can move things around. So you get a lot of product on that counter or on that cart and be able to move it.
So when I look at this, I look at ergonomics. I look at the point of bringing footprint, bringing things together, looking at the ability to use some dent lifts, some more equipment that can be versatile in a front end, and look at using labor wisely so you still have the human element, and you have the ability to have somebody there, and you have portability. I look at those components for efficiency. Like I said, tubs and robotics, they are here to stay, and in many Alzheimer's units, actually, they're being used to bring a cup of tea to a person-centered care. I don't like to call it a resident, but a person who's in these facilities. They are guiding them You've seen some movies in the past, and those movies are becoming reality. There's an Israeli company working on robotics, just the components of looking at serving or the ability to adapt in those kind of facilities that have one-on-one care. So labor efficiencies are around, whether they're in healthcare, as far as in the nursing and the caring component, as well as in the food service, and there are some pluses for it. So be aware and just embrace it. And again, if you're not sure, give the company a call and do a demo. See how the reaction is of having that kind of stuff on your site. Because again, it is an investment, but the return on the investment is probably there.
There was another one that you talked about was Farmer's Fridge. So that's another one if you want to take a look when you go online.
Right. So continuing on labor efficiencies, we talked about technology. And with labor efficiencies, we did a robotics, we talked about utilization of technology, and not only with ovens and stoves and refrigeration, but we want to talk about technology utilization when it comes to point of sale. So point of sale is here to stay. What it does is, again, the sensory, visual. If you can show food, we eat with our eyes. The other point of it gives you nutrition and the transparency. The other component is that it allows you to order, and then it's hooked up perhaps to an inventory in the back of the house, so you see where your inventory is going. You see your menu mix, the ability to reorder easily because you see where your car stock is. So it's interconnected, which is really important. The other thing is on the left, if you look at the apps that are available, it allows you to, first of all, set up a loyalty program, give events, communication. And again, it's all about transparency and communication. So these kiosks, whether they're standalone or whether they're on mobile apps, will increase your sales, will increase the ability, because everyone's about speedy checkout, not so much speedy eating, but speedy checkout. And the incorporation of the technology will allow that, as well as give you that on-demand feeling.
Yeah, and there's also the kiosk. The kiosk down in the center there was one over in Europe a couple years back, and they were already using that at McDonald's. And again, it was one of those, you walk up, punch it in, and then there was a long walk to get to the counter, and by the time you got to the counter, your order should be ready. So
the next trend is transparency. People are starting to identify what they put in their bodies and want to promote both personal and communal well-being. I guess I should say people are starting to identify it, because, especially younger. Yes, more seasoned people want to be aware of what's in their body, but I think it started because of an awareness. And so clean labels, food safety, natural ingredients, social responsibility. All micro trends that are out there, buzz that's out there. Some of your solutions is to create allergy awareness in your kitchen, promote local ingredient sources, whether from local farms, wherever they're from, and align your brand with transparency. If you look at the labeling on the right, it's a very clean labeling. There are label companies that will come and you can set up things like that, and you can show your awareness and nutrition very clear and concise. Really important to be transparent. It's not the yesteryear of people putting on buffalo chicken and not telling us what's in it, and maybe telling the calories, but that's it. Really, people want that. They want to know, that they can read the ingredients, that they don't have to be a chemist to do that.
this is about allergens and allergen awareness. I've been around with the allergens for over 5 years now with the Celiac Association and FAIR and different presentations. And now there's the top 14 allergens. It used to be 8, then it was 10. So take a few minutes, go out online. You can look up the 14 allergens. They've added celery, they've added sesame seeds, and they've also added mustard and a couple others. So, to understand the allergens, you got to make sure that you definitely either have a safe place, and you can see in the top picture that that's incorporated into the design where they have a card They can go into the pantry. They keep those allergens out of that area, so it's a safe zone for the student or the customer. And purple is just a color identifier to help keep this separate in the back of the house. But it's very important with food allergies that you really stress and do the training with your staff.
Right. It's all about transparency. So you make things transparent visually, make things transparent in an area in the dining room where it's cornered and things can be kept all isolated in the sense of cross-contamination. In the back of the house, keeping things isolated. Again, it's all about transparency and making, obviously, education. So that is a trend that's here to stay, and we need to be aware of it. You know, it seems like the incidence of allergens and people being allergic versus, I guess, an intolerance, really allergic, what I'm saying, is increasing for whatever reason. Everything from pistachio and macadamia nuts have been added to it, to mussels and oysters. So we just need to be aware that there's a lot more out there that's causing reactions to people. And if you're a university, parents are sending their students to you and expecting you to take care of them. So it becomes a component there. If it's in a hospital, you don't want someone to get reaction to something if people cross-contamination. It's supposed to be a healing environment. So again, you have some higher calling to make sure that you are doing the right thing.
This is about clean labels. So this is really a demand that started just a couple years back. I've been hearing about it in the K-12 market, and now it's moved into other markets. But it's food products that contain natural, familiar, simple ingredients, and it's easy to recognize and understand and pronounce. No artificial ingredients, no synthetic chemicals. So I think you're seeing more clean eating, more clean labels, and it's just keeping it very simple.
Another trend is the emerging entrepreneurs. We're finding there's mobile, micro, and niche providers are better able to enter the market without prohibitive startup costs. So what do you start to see? You see food halls. Whether food halls are done by individuals or food halls are done by facilities or restaurants in nearby areas that come in and set up the food restaurants within one food hall. Ghost kitchens, doing off-site cooking in one kind of commissary and bringing the food onto a site. Like Fuda, which was an off-premise thing that came on and using local community chefs, and they're coming on with a finished product. Mobile kitchens and food trucks. We'll show you some more things about these emerging entrepreneurs, but it is a trend that's here to stay. So you have to use multiple use, small footprint equipment, create a very flexible operations, and leverage the opportunity to expand upon it. It doesn't take away from your direct sales. What it does is it enhances your sales, things that you may not be able to do, but it is the ability of looking at what can you do to bring in more sales, more loyalty, bring in more variety that you're not able to because of labor, maybe footprint, and so you're able to do this within your footprint and make more creative things. If you had a food market, now you can have a food hall and just divide. And we're going to be showing you some other visuals and stuff that will help you kind of grasp that.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to talk about pop-up restaurants, underutilized spaces. You have a lobby area that you could pop up a cafe, and this unit here could be used for multiple uses. It's indoor-outdoor concessions. It's a pop-up retail concept. It's cooking demo. It's an action station, a coffee cafe, a bakery. It's endless on the different things that you could use in this area. So basically, you're going to pop up this concept. But when you look at equipment, make sure it fits your door frames. Make sure that you can store it. It's able to get on elevators and go around corners so that you can move it. And when you put it away, you've got an area that you could secure it. So, but you're seeing more of these pop-up concepts in all the markets.
And to add back to it, if you're bringing in people that are coming in to do any of these food from the community, it gives you the ability to be flexible and as far as what you're doing. So you can use this counter for that lunch period, maybe when you're bringing that community restaurant or entrepreneur in, and then you can be using it for something else. So again, the flexibility, remember that trend of flexibility, mobility is really important.
This is a mini food truck. It's an electric truck. I had the opportunity to visit the campus and see this truck in action. And it's really neat. It's small, it's tiny. They put it in the center of the campus, but they also market that the entrees are less than 550 calories. They have a lot of vegan options, gluten-free, chef-crafted, plant-based to-go containers. And it's taken off. It's extremely well received. So just, again, a nice little electric food truck. And then that's their marketing that they run across the campus with. So it's pretty neat. Get a chance, go online and take a look at it.
So when we're talking about entrepreneurs and that there's going to be more emerging entrepreneurs, that means Wall State may be running this, but you may have a local person that may be going to several campuses. So the idea of engaging or offering, giving other offerings, maybe when you don't have the space or the manpower, is a good way to think about it. When you think about Borelli is offering, is branding with facilities, with D&I, with healthcare, with universities to brand their pasta. So it becomes a pasta station. And yes, you may say, well, but this becomes more exciting in the sense it's mobile. You can get it around. It's really combining that little mini restaurant kind of feel in a very outside concept. And a lot of companies are doing that. A lot of food manufacturers. So this is something to think about, coffee, food around your campuses. And when I say campus, it can be a healthcare campus and a university campus. Is using that kind of thing. Some people have put these inside their cafeterias, or so that they actually, it closes down at night and it's closed and it's in case, just to offer a different kind of mobility and venue. And when you look above at the food hall, that food hall, you have food halls that are more or less like venues, straight, and can have a variety of local merchants, can be in branding facilities, as well as you can have some seating to make it more of that dining kind of experience. The next trend that's really, really big is functional food. It's around growing personal eating habits, well-being. You'll see lots of foods related to gut health, food as medicine, and complete nutrition. So be aware that people are looking for customization, they're looking for promoting hydration and aligning menus with health and wellness. There's a variety of ways to do it. It's let food be thy medicine. There's a tremendous amount of ways to do it. And we're going to speak about a few.
This is the Create Your Own. So this is Azusa Pacific University. And very interesting, they decided to do 6 concepts and let the customer create their own, from a burger to a pizza. So you walk up, you tell them you want a burger, they're going to hand make your burger and then fry it or grill it for you, and the customer waits. They were serving about 1,000 lunches. They're up to 2,200 when they went to this concept of Create Your Own. So all 6 brands across that area will let the customer create their own. Same thing with the picture on the right. That is a high school. The students walk up, they gather whatever vegetables or fruit that they want in their noodle bowl, and then they hand it off and they walk away with a hot noodle bowl. But it's really choosing the products that they want in their lunch.
So we talk about hydration. Seems to be a big buzzword for a lot of facilities. How do you make things more applicable? Yes, you can have bottles, but if you're going to get away from the bottles and infusing the fruit, making venues or mobile so that people can be enticed to drink more. So these are just some examples. The other thing is, when I look at the components of a micro store, putting some education, living on the veg, putting all foods related to that, it becomes more inviting. So again, it is a trend, functional food. You need to embrace it and figure out gastropub soups. How are you going to market it from both your C-stores, your micro stores, and in your food cafeterias and halls? How will you do that? Will you market that? That is something, it's a trend that's here to stay, and people are looking at that component. Back, sorry about that. The other thing is you will start to see, I don't know if I don't think we tested about food markets. We'll talk about food pharmacies, micro markets, and we'll get to that a little bit more.
The new normal is eat wherever you are, eat whatever you want, eat whenever you want. So that set time of eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner is kind of just gone away, and now it's eating whenever you can because of young families and sports and schools and just people on the run. So the new normal is changing. It's meal kits, it's customizing, it's breakfast all day. Pretty much all restaurants that do serve, they serve it all day. It's grab and go items. You know, again, it's something that you can grab and take with you. And a lot of times you want to upsell for their lunch. So if they come in and grab something for breakfast, you offer something that they could snack on for lunch.
Another trend is on the go, making food easily and accessible. Everyone wants, meal is not defined by 3 courses. Everyone is grabbing a snack. Handheld, grab and go. When we talked about the burger before, having the burger in the ramen noodles, grab and go, bento boxes, putting together combinations of food so people can grab and go. You must make sure that you have the right equipment. You must packaging, making sure it's accessible and branded, so that you can, if you're going to invest the time to do it, that you can move that ahead. Also, a lot of impulsive buys happen here, so make sure you, like we showed you before with kind of with the herbs, having display cases or merchandising allows that to happen a lot quicker. And here are 2 examples of micro markets. And these are both accessible to the staff as well as the students. Cleveland Clinic has one for the hospital. Again, the reason people have done these grab and goes, number 1, it increases revenue. Number 2, giving them the convenience. But mostly, people want the ability to get what they want I know I just saw Bell Labs has one too, in that the sense that staff can't go home and go shopping. So they want shopping brought there. And if they're able to buy and get what they need, it becomes a benefit and a value add. And so, yeah, we talk about the on the go, but that makes it easier. I've got tea stores that are now expanding. Not only do they have restaurants, but they're having like little markets that you can shop and recipes and also prepared foods so that you can do everything very easily. And again, it's all about making it easy. That's the trend. Making it easy tastes good. There's a lot of variables in there, but here's 2 examples of that. Nancy?
I'm here, sorry. This is also in-store restaurants. So you're seeing a lot more of that. And the reason is because everybody's shopping online, picking up. So now they're offering that opportunity of putting restaurants in the grocery stores, in furniture stores, in bookstores, in clothing stores. You're just seeing in-store restaurants popping up all over the markets. And it really creates that, again, more foot traffic coming in. It is working with the millennials in the grocery store market where they're putting these restaurants in.
So when I look at these in-store restaurants here, what it is an in-store restaurant, meaning it's branded by the facility, whether it's a university, the hospital, or I just saw Barnes & Noble doing it, Restoration Hardware is doing it. It's branded in there. So the picture on the left is Castle Rock. It's Manna in Castle Rock. It's rated among the best restaurants, and it's part of a hospital. So you want to look it up, Dan Skay, S-K-A-Y, and this type of menu, variety. On the right, the Market Grill. Again, looking, the cafeteria, and then you have walking through the doors to kind of a private area, using the same footprint, but using a smaller part of it. So again, people are looking for that away from maybe the cafeteria kind of open feeling, but they want a more relaxed, and they don't have to go outside of it, but they can stay within their workspace. Again, utilizing things And so you can incorporate cabinetries, making it more, again, the idea of in-store restaurants is, ask people why they like it, is because it takes them away from the day-to-day of what's going on. It takes a moment, but it's in the same footprint. And you're going to start seeing more and more and more of that in everything from Barnes & Noble, Restoration Hardware, ABC. There was a furniture store in the city. Again, people are shopping. And then instead of going out, they want the relaxation. The good thing for some of these places is they're incorporating some of their wares into it. And obviously, a hospital is not going to incorporate their equipment, but they're in the sense of pharmaceuticals, shall we say. But they are going to incorporate their chefs and to show that cuisine can be healthy and taste good too. And so start to think about in-store restaurants. They're cropping up in places that you would have not expected.
This is a great example of Barnes & Noble, and they did the Blue Jean effect, and they have also serve a local brews in their Barnes & Noble. So you go from espresso to a brew, and they have turkey paninis, and, you know, again, they're opening up more and more restaurants in 2019.
And so when you talk about trends, these are trends, and then a lot of people will say, well, we don't have the labor. The idea is when you look at the smaller footprint, perhaps you can redirect labor. And that's the point of what people are wanting to increase. Maybe the check average is higher in those areas so that you can encompass that. So again, these are trends. It's figuring out the roadmap that's going to work for you.
Food insecurities. There's over 800 million people every day that struggle with hunger and food insecurities, and 1 out of 6 children don't know where their next meal is coming from. So again, this is a trend, and it's now just coming to, you know, we're talking about it more and seeing it. The trend on campuses has just, you know, the last couple years, it's very strong that, you know, there's food pantries now on campus. So food insecurity it's here, it's real. And again, you know, there's all kind of programs, food banks, and, you know, it's just something that we really need to understand and take a look at and see what we can do to make it better.
So I was going to say, add to that, students, elderly, children, the components of some students don't pay their tuition, but they can't eat. You've got elderly that come out of a hospital and go home, and they have no way of accessing food, affordable food, or even at-risk patients who are not elderly, who are at risk, who don't have the economics. So operators have come up with a whole bunch of solutions, and one of them is food market, retail venues to make it easy to choose the right food. Other things are food pantries within these facilities, food pharmacies where a doctor can write a script, and they can trade it in for a food item, dedicated farms for hospitals and universities, so the cost of producing them is less, and they're able to offer a certain amount. Again, you may not get enough quantity, but you certainly can offer it for your food pantry. Doing things like beehives, bringing back the environment, and offering ability of offering honey and other things that you may have not been able to offer, but you can do it at a lower cost. It's also bringing beehives back. It's the sustainability, going back to that. So again, this food insecurity is about fueling these people, but it's also about making a difference. The activism that we spoke about, eco-friendly, and again, implementing these food share programs, because they ultimately, if we do more of this stuff, we're going to lower the cost of healthcare. That's one. Number two, we're going to have students that can eat and do well in school, and not have other stress and end up having mental illness because they don't know what to pay or what to do, and they're overwhelmed. So, you know, there's lots of, you know, it kind of domino effect. And so we need to think about it. And food security is, you know, really a major, major trend in our world. And unfortunately, we've got to find solutions as part of it as we move forward. Another trend is infusing digital. We are moving forward, and our culinary experiences, we need to have, we need technology will change everything we know and everything we do relating to food. Using intensive data collection methods, new software, to predict eating behaviors, digital ordering apps, which we spoke about, to engage the customers, labor shortages, engaging with robotics or automatic assistants will make a difference. Again, I always consider when you're talking about technology, the time, money, and people. That's your ROI, the rule of three. Time, money, and people. If you can reduce time, if you could, and it costs you, and the money is not, again, the return on investment, and you can reduce the amount of people that do it, it's something to consider. You have to align technology with your goals and really look at ways that you can use smart equipment, because in general, the reason they're coming out is because there is a need for those components. Technology, in the sense of, we talked about it before, so robotics, cupcakes, ATMs, pizza making, French fries. Again, quality. Again, it's got to be about people. The three are time, money, and people. It's not being tasting good for those people, then it's not something you want to have. But it's certainly the robotics like Sally's and that are bringing good food to good people.
This is talking about. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Nancy. No, go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah. This is talking about the snack box. So this is a little robot that goes around the campuses, and from 9 to 5 you're allowed to order, and there's 50 locations that it will drop off. It's done extremely well that they're ordering more. And I know Marsha's going to talk about the other two robots at the bottom here.
So, we talk about meal delivery robots. On the left is one for the children's hospital, and basically what these robots or tugs do is the ability to get meal delivery from the kitchen up to the floors, and a human being will take it and present it to the patient. It allows someone to collect the trays and go back. It saves ergonomically, time, money. When you talk about ROI, depending on how big your campus is, vertically or horizontally, it definitely saves you to use people where they need to be. So technology, again, is here to stay, and it is a trend that, again, relating back to efficiencies, looking at things that fit into a footprint. They stack up very small, so the idea is where they are. Look, the snack the bots on top are here to stay. They get across campus quickly, again, to produce that ability. You can have hydration pots, etc. See what's out there. But these are trends that people want because they are helping as a solution. So thank you. I think we gave you an overarching, I know it's a lot in the almost the hour that we've been telling you about all of this, but we wanted to give you the trends that are coming to food service and are here to stay. And we wanted you to learn that there are some affordable solutions, but you've got to figure out which ones you want and where you're going to have them. Remember footprint, remember automation, convenience, sustainability, show me. It's the show me, transparency, doing cooking. All of that is involved in what you're doing. We've gotten some questions. I think we have a few minutes. Let me see if I can. Somebody had asked how some of the culinary taste, the food culinary. That's something I'm not really sure of, but I would certainly say if they're taking on the product, let's say of a pancake mix, they would consume that. But I would say that's where you get with the vendors and have them come in and do show me, and show it to students to get the buy-in. Again, it's all about buy-in when it comes to those kind of foods. The other thing is the presentation will be available. The slides are available. You're able to download them off of here. I put the slides in and a brochure, but you'll be able to download all copy of the PowerPoint at any one of these sites. You'll get the link to the audio, and the participation and certification will be located at these sites as well. If you have any other questions, you can type them in, and we'll get back to you. And I think thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. And please fill out the survey at the end, because that will help us know more about what you need. But thank you for joining us today, and have a wonderful evening. And if the snow has hit you, be safe driving home. Thank you all.
Thank you.